Hey everyone, welcome back. Look, if you're putting in the hours to build your career as a construction electrician here in Canada, you already know the Canadian Electrical Code is your absolute ultimate playbook. I'm your host, and today in this explainer, we are going to totally master Section 14 of the CEC 2024. That's Protection and Control. And let me tell you, this section is absolutely critical. It's literally what keeps our job sites safe, it stops our installations from going up in flames, and yeah, it is heavily tested on the Red Seal exam. So let's just dive right into this and make sense of it together.
Think about a real-world scenario for a second. You're roughing it on a site, you've got a standard 14-gauge wire, and you need power. Why can't we just, slap a 30-amp breaker on there and call it a day? Well, because overcurrent protection isn't just about keeping the power flowing, it is actually about protecting the wire itself. If that 14-gauge wire starts drawing 30 amps, it's going to overheat, the insulation is going to literally melt off, and boom, you've got a fire on your hands. Section 14 is the rulebook that tells us exactly how to control that power and protect our conductors.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll quickly cover code navigation, we'll demystify the top rules, size some breakers and ground faults, check out panels and enclosures, run through a quick Red Seal practice test, and wrap it all up with your ultimate exam cheat sheet.
Okay, when you're sitting in that exam room with your open codebook, speed is everything, right? You are on the clock, sweating a little bit, feeling the pressure. So remember this simple sequence. First, use your index or the table of contents to jump straight to Section 14. Second, scan for your specific rule number, say 14-100. And third, and this is a big one, always check if the rule references an Appendix B note or a specific table, like Table 13 for rating overcurrent devices. That is the absolute fastest way to navigate when you're under the gun.
All right, moving into the TAP rules demystified, where we break down Rule 14-100. The general rule in the code is pretty straightforward. Every wire needs protection right where it gets its supply. But we really care about the exceptions here. The codebook uses some pretty dense, lawyer-like text. Like reading Rule 14-100 Subrule 1c feels like translating ancient Greek sometimes. But out in the real world, in everyday electrician speak, we just call this the 7.5-meter tap rule. We're going to translate that dense code so it actually makes sense when you're standing in front of a panel. Let's start with the 3-meter tap rule under Subrule 1b. You can actually decrease your wire size without putting a brand new breaker right at the tap, but only if you meet all of these specific conditions. 1. The smaller wire's ampacity has to handle the combined computed loads. 2. It absolutely cannot be over 3 meters long. 3. It can't extend beyond the panel or the control device it supplies. And 4. It's got to be enclosed in a non-ventilated raceway or armored cable. You miss even a single one of those? Yeah, you are definitely failing your inspection.
Now, compare that strictly to the 7.5-meter tap rule in Subrule 1-C. Pay attention, because this is a massive Red Seal exam trap. For a tap up to 7.5 meters, the ampacity of your smaller conductor must be at least 1/3 of the larger conductor feeding it. It also has to be protected from mechanical damage, obviously can't exceed 7.5 meters in length, and, here's the kicker, it must terminate in a single overcurrent device. You really need to know the exact differences between this and the 3-meter rule.
Section 3. Sizing breakers and ground faults, protecting the wire and the system.
So Rule 14-104 gives us our standard breaker sizes. And notice how incredibly specific the CEC is based on the material of the wire. For copper, a 14-gauge wire gets a maximum 15-amp breaker. 12-gauge gets 20 amps, 10-gauge gets 30 amps. Pretty standard, right? But look really closely at aluminum. A 12-gauge aluminum wire is only permitted a 15-amp overcurrent device, and 10-gauge aluminum gets capped at 25 amps. You need to burn this data right into your memory. You will use it every single day on the tools.
Next up, Rule 14-102, Ground Fault Protection. By definition, this protection is designed to de-energize all the normally ungrounded conductors of a faulted circuit. Basically, it steps in during a ground fault to cut the power safely, way before catastrophic damage or a massive, terrifying arc flash event happens. But here's the thing, it's not actually required on every single system out there.
The code gives us super specific criteria for when ground fault protection is totally mandatory on solidly grounded systems. You need it if your system is greater than 150 volts to ground, less than 750 volts phase to phase, and is rated at 1,000 amps or more. Alternatively, if you're working with 150 volts or less to ground, you need it if the system is rated 2,000 amps or more. This is your typical heavy-duty commercial and industrial site stuff.
1200. I want you to sear this number into your brain right now because it is a classic, textbook red seal trap. Under Rule 14102 Sub-Rule 2, the absolute maximum setting for ground fault protection is 1200 amps. Plus, the maximum time delay is exactly 1 second for ground fault currents equal to or greater than 3000 amps. Seriously, don't let them trick you with higher numbers on the test. 1200 amps is the hard ceiling.
Moving on to panels and enclosures, Rules 14106 through 14114.
Let's talk physical hardware. According to Rule 14106, overcurrent devices must be in readily accessible places and grouped wherever practicable. Let's be real here. You shouldn't need a ladder and a pirate's treasure map just to find a breaker to reset it. Rule 1408 says they need to be enclosed in cutout boxes or cabinets to keep them safe from dampness. And crucially, you have to be able to operate those breaker handles without opening any door that exposes you to live electrical parts. That's just basic, life-saving safety on the job.
Now, Rule 14110 talks about grouping at a distribution center. Say you have lighting branch circuits originating from a common enclosure. When do you officially cross the line and need a panel board? Well, for a single-phase 3-wire system, if you have more than 2 lighting branch circuits, you need a panel board. But for a 3-phase 4-wire system, the rule is if you have more than 3 lighting branch circuits. Keep those thresholds straight in your head.
Rule 14112 is a hard, strict no. Overcurrent devices absolutely cannot be connected in parallel in circuits of 750 volts or less unless they are factory assembled as a single unit. Meaning, you can't just MacGyver 2 15-amp breakers in parallel to magically get 30 amps. It doesn't work that way, and it's wildly dangerous. Oh, and Rule 14114 reminds us that supplementary protectors, those tiny little fuses built directly into equipment, they can never, ever substitute for your main branch circuit devices. All right, it's Red Seal practice test time. Let's shift gears, shake it out, and wake up. Let's see how well you've absorbed this with a real Red Seal style question. Here is question 1. What is the maximum overcurrent rating for a number 12 AWG aluminum conductor? Is it A, 15 amps, B, 20 amps, C, 25 amps, or D, 30 amps? Think back to what we just talked about with Rule 14104 Sub-Rule 2.
If you guessed A, you nailed it. 15 amps is correct. Rule 14-104 Sub-Rule 2-D specifically states 15 amps for number 12 AWG aluminum. The test makers intentionally put 20 amps in there as a trap for anyone who just read 12 AWG and instantly pictured standard copper house wiring. You have got to always read the material type carefully on the exam. If you skim past the word aluminum, you lose the mark. It's that simple. Okay, question 2. Let's keep the pace up. Under Rule 14100, what is the absolute maximum length for a tap conductor if its ampacity is at least 1/3 of the larger conductor it's tapped from? The answer is 7.5 meters. This comes straight out of the 7.5 meter tap rule, Sub-Rule 1-C. Look, knowing these specific distances and fractions off the top of your head, that is exactly what is going to save you huge amounts of time on the actual exam. You won't have to frantically flip through the index, you'll just know it and move on. And that brings us to the most important part of this explainer, the Red Seal takeaway.
This is your ultimate quick reference cheat sheet for Section 14. Make sure you lock these 3 things in before test day. Number 1, know Rule 14-104 Sub-Rule 2 inside out. 14 AWG copper is 15A, 12 AWG copper is 20A, and always watch out for aluminum. Number 2, memorize those 3 meter and 7.5 meter exceptions in the tap rules under 14-100, especially that 1/3 ampacity rule. And number 3, dodge those ground fault traps in 14-102. Remember the 1200 amp maximum setting and the 1 second maximum delay.
So, the next time you're roughing in a panel out on site, I want you to ask yourself, is this breaker just keeping the lights on? Or is it literally the only thing stopping this wire from burning the entire building down? Thanks for studying with me. If you found this lesson helpful, please like, subscribe, and comment with the next CEC topic you'd like to learn. Keep studying, stay safe, and good luck on your Red Seal journey.